What if you had a neighbor who was getting away with something terrible and no one was doing anything to stop him? Would you? Is vigilante justice ever okay?
Well, that is the question, and it's one that divided a California community after the murder of one of its most respected residents. Tonight, the story of a monster preying on a town and one man who had enough. At the end of this dark, winding road through the redwoods just outside the small seaside town of Fort Bragg, California, a single shot rang out in February 2009.
911, what are you reporting?
A frantic call comes in from a woman who says her husband has been shot. Sergeant Greg Van Patten, a detective with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, races to the scene.
I received a phone call from the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center.
1016, go ahead.
And in the call, they relayed to me that a homicide had just occurred in the Fort Bragg area.
At this trailer nestled in the woods, sheriffs find 63-year-old Darrell Ray McNeil lying on the floor. Standing nearby is Darrell's wife, Liz. Lead investigator Dustin Lorenzo.
She was extremely emotional, crying, upset.
The scene surprisingly contained and immediately odd. McNeil is dead from a .44 caliber shot to the stomach. No signs of struggle or burglary, just an antique ball and cap black powder revolver laid neatly in pieces on a countertop. McNeil's wife, Liz, who made the 911 call, tells investigators 32-year-old Aaron Vargas, a man she's known for decades, is the lone gunman.
Her and her husband were watching a movie. They had a knock at the door. Darrell answered the door.
During the conversation, she heard Aaron telling Darrell that he'll never do this again to anybody, and then a shot rang out. Darrell fell back into the trailer, and then Aaron entered into the trailer.
Aaron, she tells them, is a close family friend. They used to be neighbors when Aaron was just a boy. His best friend, Michael, is Darrell's son. But now Aaron Vargas appears cold-blooded.
He said that he had gut shot Darrell because he wanted him to suffer like the people that he had made suffer for many years.
Then, Liz says, Aaron reveals a horrific secret he'd kept for 20 years.
He then proceeded to tell Elizabeth that the reason why he had shot Darrell McNeil was because Darrell had molested him many years before.
Aaron flees the trailer, and then the young father and part-time construction worker goes to the home of his parents, Bob and Robin Vargas.
I got up and answered the door. He just stood there a couple steps in the doorway. So I looked back at him, and he said that he had shot Darrell and that he wanted to tell me he was sorry and tell me goodbye.
Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Did he seem in shock?
Definitely. He was in shock. And I just sat him down and put my arms around his neck. And that's when he told me Darrell had molested him.
Aaron tells his parents the abuse started when he was just 11, during a fishing trip with Darrell and his friend Michael. Any question as to whether or not your son was coming up with a story about why he did it?
No, Aaron's a very honest person. He's not going to make up a story about anything.
Being abused is kind of a weird story to tell anyway. Could have come up with 100 other excuses.
It's not something I don't think he ever wanted to tell anybody.
The news is stunning. The revelation of the abuse and the sting of betrayal. Darrell, a man they counted as a friend. Darrell McNeil, who owned an appliance store frequented by everyone in town, was seen as an all-around good guy. Known as friendly and social, he volunteered as a big brother and led the local Boy Scout troop. To the Vargas family, he was a kind and generous neighbor.
He seemed like a straight-up guy.
Trusted part of the community?
Right. You never heard him cuss. You never see him drink.
Never saw him angry. Always friendly.
I just can't believe that I didn't see the signs. I just can't believe I didn't.
You feel that you should have seen this?
I do.
But the same man now confessing his haunting past is barely recognizable from the son they know. They say Aaron had everything in front of him. A baby girl he adored and a fiancée he was preparing to marry in just 2 weeks. Why, they wondered, had he risked all that?
I told him, why didn't you come to me? I hollered at him. I was upset. I said, who's going to raise your daughter? Who's going to take care of her family now?
But while the questions behind the mysterious slaying mount, flashing lights of the sheriff's investigators appear at the end of the driveway.
A figure in the darkness started to approach the patrol units, and at that time they recognized that it was Aaron. They went ahead and ordered him to the ground and effected an arrest.
At the sheriff's office, Aaron, according to investigators, is not nervous.
He was cool, calm. He was normal, just like you'd speak to anybody else at 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
Investigators smell alcohol on his breath. Aaron, they find out, is heavily intoxicated.
I sat down across the table from him, and I began reading his rights. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand?
I'm going to use that one.
He interrupted me about halfway through and stated he didn't want to talk to me and would like to speak with his attorney.
Aaron is booked that night and charged with murder. As he sat inside a county jail, his inner circle of friends and family learn of the shooting and the secret relationship between the two men. Aaron's younger sister, Mindy, gets the call late that night.
My mom got on the phone and she said that Daryl was dead and that Aaron had just been arrested and that Daryl had abused him.
Could you believe it?
No. I was a total shock. Aaron is probably the kindest, most selfless, compassionate person I know.
But this wasn't just about childhood abuse.
You have to ask yourself, why did the violence happen on that day and in the way that it did?